welcome back to Open Your Eyes, a cool Tuesday morning, as we're now venturing off into our first segment for the morning. Updates on the national report, the impact on business and the economy. In with us to tell us more about it, we've got the business senator, Senator Mark Lizarraga. Sir, good morning.
Good morning to you both, and thank you for having me out on this lovely morning.
Your first time for 2020, right?
Yes.
Happy New Year, sir.
Same to you. And Happy New Year to Belize as well.
I forget we're still saying that.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
He's a new guest for the year.
Earlier.
So, the topic at B is definitely one to reckon with, and a lot of people, especially having it scrolled last night, is definitely looking forward to updates on national reports, the impact on business and economy. Whenever you're on the show, whenever we make mention that Mark Lizarraga is going to be here, Senator Mark Lizarraga, folks normally say, okay, there is something of importance that's going on, and we need some clarity on that. So, updates on national reports. Where are we at this particular point? Why are you here?
If you have to be more specific, what report? Because there's so many. But I think I know what you're talking about. I tried to figure a way out how to lead into this segment this morning, because you guys are always challenging. I listened to you a bit this morning. Excellent, by the way. And I think we're in this era of opportunity, equal opportunity, non-discrimination.
Yeah.
And I think of all the ways our people are being discriminated against today, least of which is not political connected. A lack of opportunities that we should all have from a government that is investing in the right things and giving everybody the same chance. If you look at many of the reports before us today, you can see where there's a lack of opportunity for all of us. There's only opportunity for a few. So that discrimination that comes from political decisions has certainly got to be put on the table and a part of the discussion. And I don't see that single biggest contributor to discrimination and equality in this country as part of the conversation or in that light. We have seen these reports, they're damning. What is more is that we've seen acknowledgement from certainly one minister in charge of one particular ministry, and he's saying almost in a nonchalant way, look, but it's not only here, it's happening in other places. And we know it's been happening for a long period of time. And I say to myself as a parliamentarian, where are the laws? Where is the will for us to fix these deficiencies in our system? Where are the laws? Where are the finances to strengthen those departments, those institutions of oversight? One of the things we've been calling about for a long time has been investing in internal audit units in all of these ministries and all of these big departments that control millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of our taxpayer money.
Yeah.
And that has not been done, and there's a continued call for that. So one has to question, again, are we serious? Are we serious about reform at every level? Let me just finish my opening salvo.
But we're not in a Senate meeting, you see?
So I say, if we're not serious about true reform, creating equal opportunity, ending this political discrimination. Perfect example, the Christmas chair. How come some areas won't get
40
and some won't get 20? And then when you look for the per capita allocations, it's ridiculous.
Well,
it's ridiculous. So that's just a simple example, but it's not. It underpins our seriousness to equality.
Yeah. And it's a very blatant example.
Yes.
And that's where I wanted to start off the conversation today, getting a bit of reflection. Senator, you've been in the Senate for quite a while, and
You make us sound like
as a part of our show as well, in being able to discuss the different issues that's taken to the Senate and other matters as well. Now, we have before us, at this particular time, two reports that show clear, very, very clear, that the misappropriation of funds continues to happen. It is public knowledge. As a senator, given the fact that you have a role in part of our governance structure, what is the feeling or the sentiment that you have? Because at this point in time, it's almost that these things are going to continue occurring without any challenges, without any stops. And I use one very specific example. The Senate Select investigation that took place. It was one of the moments where I think we would have been proud had it been more productive. We're looking at years later, there can't even be a report made out of it. No one was really held accountable for the actions there. So it really comes back to the fact that it's back to that rubber stamp role that the Senate is playing.
Give me a break for answer the million and one things that you raise in me when you talk.
I said one thing.
No, how do I feel?
Yeah.
I feel outraged. I feel concerned. I feel many times hopeless because I know that we're being muzzled in so many ways in the Senate and we're being undermined many times. But that's a whole other conversation. Look, let's bring it back to business. Why are we so concerned about the good governance and accountability for our monies? Because we see so many of our people, half of our people really almost, hovering just about that poverty line or below. So as a businessman, that concerns me because I want to see the people in our country prosper.
Yeah.
The more buying power they have, the stronger the economy will be. But if you look at the fundamentals of the economy, so many areas are doing poorly. Thank God we have one area that's doing very well, tourism. Right? But when you look at the environment, for example, and the monies we bring in for the environmental tax and the things we're allowing in our environment. By the way, I want to take this opportunity to build up two groups. I want to build up the little Rotaract Club in Benkeviejo yes. for the fine job that they have done, the initiative that they have taken to clean up that river. That should be something that's coming from our environmental agencies because we have the money for it. We collect $42 million a year to clean up this country, and that shall, the law says, go towards cleaning up the environment and the initiatives of the Clean Water Alliance. I want to build them up because these are private citizens trying to do their part when government has the resources, the money, the taxes for it, and they're failing. I'd like to congratulate as well those in the fishing sector and the fisheries for having championed, and it's taken how many years?
Many years.
More than 10 years, I think, of lobbying. So there's hope.
And it was voted through unanimously, which is also an excellent. One of the highlights from yesterday. So, but there's not enough of that. There's not enough of that. There's not enough that's being done by those people that should be in leadership positions to try and bring about the changes that we need to have a vibrant economy, to have a safer country, because that affects our economy, security, right? National security. So there's so many things that affect the cost of living that comes as a direct impact of our inefficiencies in government spending. Remember, government takes out of our pocket 35 cents out of every dollar. And if you're spending that in an inefficient and unequal way, and only a small segment of the population are benefiting from that, it creates more inequality in our country. You did thief from basically, from our pockets, to give to your special few. And there are examples of it in the report, which I'm sure you'll cover. I no plan to cover them now, because you don't give me enough time. Of course, we could all day. But there are many examples of misuse, abuse, illegalities. I'm glad to hear in this instance that the Prime Minister is saying that he's going to ask the police, or he inferred that the police would get involved, and the Commissioner said they would get involved.
and not wait for no special investigation. They have the report of the Auditor General, they can act. That's the same thing that should have happened with the immigration reports. But the then commissioner took the position, I'm going to wait for the Special Select Committee's report. There's no need for that. They should have acted as the Auditor General recommended in her umpteen recommendations in those 3 voluminous reports that she made on immigration. So one would have wanted to see the Commissioner of Police as well say, I'm going to open up that again, as they should. And that doesn't need a Special Select Committee's report. I'm not saying the report should not be made. It should be tabled to wrap up that exercise.
It has to be made. It's paid for.
And it's a legal requirement. But what I'm saying is, the point I'm getting to is that the police and the authorities should have acted in spite of that.
That they can act on the Auditor General's report and not on the final Senate Select investigation report. Now, I want to go back because you said something very clearly. You said that you feel frustrated, you feel outraged, and you feel hopeless.
But I don't give up, you know.
I agree. Neither do we, which is why we're here. And I think that it is a sentiment that is echoed in the wider community. I know you talk with a lot of people, not just in the business community. So you know that people feel that they are helpless in a situation like this.
A lot of them are afraid, you know.
But it is important for us to understand the issues as best as possible and understand, more importantly, where the breakdowns occur. How is it possible that people can get away with collecting on funds that are allocated for one thing without contracts, without documents? How are these checks even made out in the first place? So that's where I wanted to dive into the reports. Let's look at what we can identify as some of the breakdown in these structures and where we have fallen short in oversight.
Let me answer that before you get too far ahead of me. A very good point. The Ministry of Finance, to me, has failed big time. These are the people really, first and foremost, responsible for the care of our monies in our system.
The people's money.
Right. And they will say that they have been under-resourced. They will say that they have limited resources, limited personnel, as they have said. But I would think that they, being the professionals that they should be, should see the value. Imagine if they had an internal auditor in this one stadium, right? Or the high school. Those 2 units I'm talking about of many, and we're looking at them just for a short period of time, remember. Don't you think we could have paid from those savings, from those monies that have been lost, misused? Don't you think we could have paid for an internal auditor? Wouldn't we have gained? Remember this segment of the audits that the Auditor General did? That's about 1 year period. Look, you talk millions of dollars.
Yeah.
In 1 year.
Okay, in 1 year. In 2 of the entities under his watch. And he suggested that we have issues in many other entities under his watch. And we've seen that in every ministry, in every report of the Auditor General. So, first thing, why don't we invest in strengthening our institutional capacities in our people, putting people in there to safeguard these things properly? That, to me, would give so much more return on investment than many of the other investments we're making. So it would have a direct impact on efficiency in government and maybe even lowering our tax burden because a big portion of what we pay is being siphoned off.
So when you speak of the weaknesses in the Ministry of Finance, you said there's a lack of resources, but how could that have circumvented what we saw take place at the National Sports Council and at Juliancho Technical High School?
Because if we had oversight mechanism built into the operations
what type of oversight?
I'm talking about internal auditors, right? Because they would be there. Look, there's no excuse for what has happened. I'm not making excuses because the finance officers should be looking at these things. When they disperse money, they should be expecting contracts, they should be expecting reports. The boards should be doing their job. You can't tell me. One of the board members said, well, the sports director takes his instructions from the minister that the minister hire, and he deals directly with the minister. So we're here as a board and we don't know what happened. No, that's even though the minister appoints the boards, that's a lame excuse. Because as a board, you have a responsibility. And if I'm not mistaken, you should have a fiduciary responsibility as well. That's why you're there.
But Senator, I think this is where the problem...
So if you have a situation where you have a board, and we've seen that too many times too, because people are appointed, they're afraid for talk, they don't want to lose any position, right? So the minister go around and circumvent and say, boy, give this one to my fellow minister or my friend or my political aspirant, give him the first opportunity. Discriminate against the others that deserve it, right?
But this is where you use the word again, the discrimination process. I think that the people don't, I don't want to say don't trust. They're afraid because of the political victimization. So why do we have politicians having the power to choose the people they want? Are we the educational process that people we're lacking? I'm looking at what's going on right now in Asia, whereby I think in Hong Kong as we speak, these people are they're enraged because of the things that are going on. I think that as a people we're not cognizant of how our monies are being spent. I think that the people that we put in place, we actually look at the color so they could eventually progress. And
let me answer you this in 2 years before you get too far ahead of me.
Sorry.
One, there's been deliberate undermining of the institutions of oversight in this country for too long. And you can't give somebody responsibility without giving them resources. That was my point yesterday with the contractor general, because you're setting them up to fail. I can't give you this whole range of responsibilities and this much budget and this much personnel to do it. Yeah. That's one. It's not a priority. You have to get that in your head. The people that are in Belmopan are not investing in strengthening of our institutions. They know they resource them, they know they finance them. That's one. Second one, I'll give you a good example about the people and the desire to bring about outrage or to bring about a champion for change, etc. Okay. Love Foundation and the U.S. Embassy and Galen University just championed something that I thought was very excellent. They championed this governance, transparency, accountability, and ethics class at Galen University. Kudos to them. I'm so happy to see that it's being taught in our high schools. And I understand in our universities, and as a must, you have to take this subject. And I understand that a lot of schools have started now, BS, or the high school affiliated BS is starting to do that as well. But I understand the University of Belize refused to put it on their curriculum. Why would the University of Belize, and people might get upset with me for saying this, but why would they refuse to have this subject as a part of their curriculum? Because they depend so much on government for their finances and resources. You see how people get afraid? Why would our national university not want to have a course and make it mandatory to teach you about accountability, good governance, transparency, and ethics? I have a major concern when I hear that. Yeah. Okay? So if we want our people to become engaged, we have to inform our people. That's why I always thank Marlene and this show for giving us that opportunity for teach the people of this country. At least little bit by little bit we plant seeds.
It's not just teaching. Sometimes it's just helping us to understand. And that's why, let's get back to what we have before us, because when we hear this report, and we can focus on either one, whether it's the Julian Cho or it's the Sports Council, what it shows is that there were money transactions being made that didn't fit within how money should be dispersed. In the case of the Sports Council, you're talking about no contracts, you're talking about people cashing checks, you're talking about direct relationship between the person who writes the check and the minister himself, and the minister also receiving, and also people who have benefited and also other people who have benefited quite a bit from government contracts. So when people hear these stories repeatedly, it almost feels like there is nothing that can be done to prevent them. But we do have mechanisms in place. And so my question to you, Senator, because I know you are a stickler when it comes to due process. What were the processes that were circumvented in these particular instances? And who would have been responsible to ensure that those processes were to be executed?
A lot of people were responsible. Let's put it plainly. A lot of people fell down on their jobs and they left this responsibility to one person in most instances. The Finance and Audit Reform Act is very clear and very simple. It tells you how you spend the people's money. It tells you how you account for it. It tells you the processes that you must go through when you're seeking to expend huge sums of money for works.
Yes.
Expending over a certain amount, you have to go through a certain process. None of these processes...
And that process includes?
Tendering, putting out things, invite people
so you put
in an equal and non-discriminated
So you put that announcement in the newspaper that we see sometimes. We're looking for bids for this type of work.
Exactly.
So if I have a small business or I have an established business, I can bid for it as well.
Okay, so that all of us have an equal opportunity. That's the first step, okay? Well, it started before that. What about when those posts became open? The minister shouldn't appoint. We have a Public Service Commission and we have all these other commissions that have been on the mind. There's an opening, there's a vacancy for a finance officer at the Sports Council. That should have gone out, so all public service would have had an interest, or who had an interest could have applied for that job. The minister shouldn't put people in there, but this is happening, and I have to say this, I understand now that we have people from the European Union coming to the Ministry of Finance and telling them, look, you need to have internal auditors in all these departments and ministries. And the Ministry of Finance, in the way I hear it, here or so, they say, no, we have people, Manora, we have people go put in there. And the people are saying, look, if you have somebody that's not going to be doing their work, it's worse than having nobody. Because you have that sense of security. Well, I have somebody in there, no, but that person in there was appointed by because I'm a friend of this or a friend of that. No, you can't have that.
Still get paid.
For a matter of clarity, because I can't verify what you're saying, most of these institutions would have a finance officer, someone who's handling the books.
Should, yes.
Yes. So these are the persons who would ensure that the process would have gone through. It should have also been something that the board was aware of as well.
Yeah.
So it's not the first
That's why at the last budget I called out the public service because they know no government, no minister, collects money on behalf of government or pays money on behalf of government. No minister. It's the public service. And the rules that are there, they should follow without fear or favor. Okay? And the institutions that should support them and back them up have been deliberately weakened. Look, Integrity Commission, I know I jump all over the place.
I
right?
was going to...
Integrity Commission. I heard the Prime Minister said the other day, oh, but we've been filing since 2013. Well, I tell you what, I have been filing since 2011. I came in 2012, I filed for 2011. First time I see my declarations come out in the Government Gazette a few months ago, or weeks ago. First time. And the first report was from 2016. And I know previously, and I stand to be corrected, that there was something that said, look, we can't look beyond 2016 because before that we never have one board or we couldn't find people. Well, but the law is very clear. You should be filing from the year before or for the year before you get into office.
You should declare your assets,
right, until the year after you leave. So how you get that?
So it's a tracking process to see if you have unexplained wealth gained while in an elected official or in an appointed position.
Thank you.
But you've been going all over the place.
I'm going all over the place, but they're all connected. They're all connected because the institutions that we have that should be monitoring these unexplained spurts in wealth by our elected officials are not working. The institutions that should be safeguarding the spending of our money for contracts and in these departments are not working. The minister admitted as such.
But Senator, this is where we see an issue that has been discussed before. I remember being joined by the Public Accounts Committee chairman, and we were talking about issues that go back so far that people can't even remember these issues taking place. So what happens is we have institutions, we do have an integrity commission, we are getting a contractor general, we do have a public accounts committee, but would you say that we are simply doing it, or it is simply being put together for face value, or they're actually doing effective work?
I think that's, you've said it beautifully. But I think that's what I've been trying to say all morning, and that's what I said yesterday. We're setting up these institutions to fail. The contractor general has to look at over 1,000 contracts per year.
Yeah. And his staff?
He have one secretary and one office assistant or something like that. 3 of them. No. One document could be this tall, 30 pounds. And GSA documents could be 30 pounds. No. He has to not only peruse that and see that if that is correct, it's issued in the right way, all the procedures has gone through. But he has to go out and look at the work to see that we get value for money, that it's being, what the paper says is out there, that kind of thing. It's humanly impossible
for that to happen.
So we go to these organizations, we have an office of the ombudsman, we have an office of the contractor general, we have an office of this and an office of that, and now we're setting up more commissions and more tribunals. And we don't put the resources. We don't invest in the human capacity, in the institutional capacity. We're investing in other places, as you suggested. Right? So where is the will? That is the question. And remember, back again now to the business community, we're here in an economy that's going down. We're in a depression. Right? We've seen many of our major industries struggling. We see more and more Belizeans failing and coming out of business. You see a spurt in the increase in businesses. I'm happy to see some, like a new company the other day, a WhatsApp company that opened up in Kaya. It's going to be hiring about 200 people. Fantastic. That's one of the first examples of a big project I've seen.
Belizean grown?
No, American investment, foreign direct investment. We have too few of those. But we need to be looking at creating 7,000, 8,000 jobs a year. Yes, I'm happy when you have something we create on jobs for 200 people or 100 people or 50 people. But where are the projects that we need to swallow up those 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 students a year, to give them opportunities, to give them jobs? Where are those projects? Remember, we invest 26 cents out of every tax dollar in education. Are we really getting our bang for a buck? And then we see how much money is being siphoned off to those select few. So, Marlene, I know you look for the solutions, and we need to educate our people need to become involved, or people need to be taught.
It's beyond, I wanna challenge you here. You are the business, the representative for the business community in the Senate. I've always mused that at the global statistics or ranking that Belize holds, we're a middle income country. The census will be rolled out this year. We'll get a clearer indication in terms of the poverty levels that people do have. But I think individually we can all take a look around and be more conscientious of how people are living in this country. So we know that in many of these instances where works are being executed and contracts are being given out, it's the business community that benefits. So how do you speak publicly about the lack of will to invest in human resources and in improving the lives of people, but what do you do internally as a representative of the business community to ensure that the people who are benefiting are also growing a conscience as well?
Let me correct you. That's like saying all the investments that are being made, the people are benefiting. Some people are benefiting. Some people in the business community do benefit. But I would like to think that we represent those in the business community that are constantly calling for reform, for transparency in the way we do things, and for equal opportunity and non-discrimination. I would like to think that. As you can know, the Chamber has constantly been calling and the business community calling for those contracts. We want to see how those contracts are issued, because we have members that have an interest in bidding for those contracts. And in many instances, they have been discriminated against, and they don't have the equal opportunity to get those jobs. So we have people that are interested too. I lost the second point.
No, because it still is on the same issue, which is, what do you do internally? We will hear the business community speak out against the government side, and that is absolutely fair, and you do that role in the Senate. But we don't hear you calling out these businesses that are continuously
I think that's not fair. I think I think too many times the business community has issued statements, has issued press releases, have come on this show and spoken about the big issues that they want to address and how we plan to address it. And this is a good lead-in. I think right now I know that we're working on our manifesto for this year. Every time we come out, we have an election, we try to come out with our manifesto. What are the things that we want to see from you as leaders? And the last elections around, we had a manifesto. I think I launched it, or we came here and spoke about it.
And your white papers.
Yeah. Right, okay. And we invited the political parties to sign on to this manifesto for change and reform. As you know, the business community has been championing for those things for many years, from the Honorable Leader of Government Business, the Honorable Godwin Hall, sat in the chair that I hold today. So we'll be launching that again this year. The last time we launched it, the only group that did not want to sign it, and they were invited, was the UDP administration. All the other political parties that were invited signed it. So that was a clear indication that they're not serious about committing to the business community this reform agenda. So we're going to be doing the same thing again this year. We're going to be promoting and launching our reform agenda, the call for reform in this country. Yeah. There are others that are doing it. Sadly, there are others that should be calling for it, and they're silent. And one has to look at that, and you know who I'm talking about. So again, it's a nation building. It's a slow process, but we have to get involved. We all have to get involved. Yesterday, amazingly, the old Godwin came back, and there's a piece, you need to play that piece, where he challenged people to get involved in helping the contractor general to do their work. If you see something wrong, go and report it. Yes. If you know something is wrong, go and report it. And I agree with him. We have to get involved because we own it. We remember the people that we sent to Balmopan work for us, They're not our lords and masters, they work for us. So we should be able to demand of them that which we want. Right? So please get involved. That's my message.
And that brings me back to the educational process, because this is where we're failing. The people don't understand that the people are the power.
Invite me back to your show more often.
because you were aware that we are out of time. Senator, we scratched the surface on this issue.
As always.
But I hear your passion in terms of being able to have people be more aware of what is taking place. Yeah. And we appreciate you coming in to share that with us.
You're having the U.S. Embassy here this morning. That's right. I'd like to thank them for their support of this program that they're involved in with the Love Foundation called Suck It. You'll probably hear more about it in the future, but we need initiatives like this.
That's a good one for the business community. They can sponsor those kinds of classes too, right? So we do our part, right?
I agree.
All right, I'll leave you with that challenge. We're gonna go.
One more challenge. I don't have enough.
Because we know you're up for it. Thank you. We're gonna go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're gonna get the details about Beyond the Horizon 2020. So stay tuned.